folks. I think we're going to get started at this point, and want to welcome everyone to the presentation, sponsored by AST, our partner. And this is titled The Ins and Outs of Credit Card Processing, really about how to reduce some of your costs, and we're going to talk a little bit about emerging technologies and increasing efficiency as well. My name is James Bidos with Novera Payment Solutions, and we'll get right into the agenda at this point. So I'm going to do a brief introduction on Novera and who Novera is and what we're all about. I'm going to talk in-depth detail on understanding pricing in the merchant services industry and how to decipher pricing. Then I'm going to get into a little bit about some of the newer, as well as some of the existing available, but newer technologies that are emerging as well, and how those in conjunction with some of the value-added resources that we offer not only might help reduce the pricing on merchant services for your dealership, but also for helping increase sales and customer retention. And then we'll wrap it up with a quick Q&A at the end. I do have one spot in the middle for questions, but I think we're going to hold the questions because we only have a few attendees on this webinar until the end. So without further ado, I'll get right into it. Novera Payment Solutions, again, we are the recommended partner with AST for merchant services and for credit card processing. We're based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and we are what's called a member service provider for WorldPay. WorldPay is our actual processor, and Novera is a registered entity with WorldPay and MasterCard and Visa. We also happen to be one of the largest distribution channels for WorldPay nationally. Our executive team is comprised of mainly 4 individuals. Paul Moody, who heads up our marketing, John Wisniewski, who heads up our partner relations, Sean Grace, who's our founder, and myself, James Bidos. I head up the operations department and sales engineering. So we do consider ourselves to be experts in the payment processing industry. We've been at this for almost a decade at this point. Our executive team has 25 years of combined experience, and we pride ourselves on being able to provide the latest in technology and pricing for thousands of businesses across the United States. And again, we're the recommended provider to AST clients. The first thing I want to tackle, which was on the agenda, is pricing. There's a lot of confusion in the merchant services industry surrounding pricing. I hope to clear up some of that confusion on our brief 20-minute webinar today. And if there's one thing that you get out of the webinar today is on pricing. The fact is that all the costs for all the processors that are in the United States are negotiated by the issuing banks and the card brands. And we feel that's done in somewhat of a collusionary fashion. But the important part to note as a processor, whether you're talking to us or any of our competitors, that the underlying cost, and we refer to that cost as what we call interchange in our industry, is the same for every processor that's out there. So it doesn't matter whether you're speaking to us or maybe Intuit Payment Services or Global or First Data or any of the companies that are out there. That underlying cost is non-negotiable and it's the same for every processor. What most merchant acceptors don't realize, and it's not a hidden fact, again, the cost can be verified by going to MasterCard, Visa, or Discover's websites, is that how that cost is marked up to you, the end user merchant, by the processor, is what typically will vary from processor to processor. And there's a number of different ways of marking up that cost. We feel that we've got a very straightforward, fair, and transparent way of pricing and marking up that cost to you folks as the end user merchant. Let's talk a little bit more about the cost. There's about 160 some odd different levels of interchange. They can all vary depending on the type of card that's presented, and how it's presented. Was the card keyed or was it swiped? And I just want to make sure I've got some definitions correct. So when I use the term end user merchant, I'm talking about someone that's actually accepting credit cards at their place of business for payment. The interchange cost, again, set by MasterCard and Visa, and it's not negotiable, and it's the same for all processors that are out there. What varies is how that cost is marked up, and there's a number of different ways that it can be done. The best form of pricing that's out there is what we refer to as interchange plus or cost plus pricing. That takes the underlying interchange cost, passes it through to you as the merchant. And really the only disadvantage of this form of pricing is that you might get a slightly longer statement at the end of the month because we line item every cost for every card that's come through the door, and then we add our markup onto it. And again, that markup can be done a number of different ways. It could be in the form of a simple transaction fee, X amount of cents per transaction. It could be done in the form of a percentage, or what we typically in our industry refer to as basis points, or it could be done in the form of a flat fixed fee, kind of similar to the way you might pay your cable or cell phone bill. And that's the methodology that Novera uses, a cost plus a flat fixed fee pricing model. This really allows for transparency because that flat fixed fee markup is really, in essence, our profit margin on the account. We're not afraid to disclose that profit margin to you. We're happy to do so. Everyone knows we're in the business to make a profit. So again, the cost plus a flat fixed fee program is the most recommended method that we have out there from a transparent standpoint. Some of you might ask, well, how much is that flat fixed fee? It can vary from as low as $39.95 a month to as high as $99.95 a month. And we'll talk a little bit about the process in a moment on how we would figure out exactly what tier you would fit into, and it's everywhere in between. But it's really based on your volume. So for smaller merchants that are doing under $15,000 a month, it's typically $39.95 a month. From $15,000 to $30,000 a month, it could go to $49.95 a month, all the way up to anyone doing over $100,000. That's the top tier. That would be $99.95 a month. And again, we'll talk a little bit about how we set that flat fixed fee pricing in a moment. Before we talk about that in the process, I just want to get into a little bit about available technologies in the marketplace today and what's emerging. So most of you on the call are probably familiar with the old standalone countertop terminal. There have been some improvements in that technology over the years. In the past, it usually was two separate boxes, one for the terminal, one for a printer, and it worked out over an analog phone line. Well, the newer terminals are IP-enabled, which will allow you with an end-to-end encryption securely process over an IP or internet connection as opposed to using the old dial-up method. And again, the benefit of a product like this is it allows you to eliminate the cost of an analog phone line. Most have built-in receipt printers, process all standard transactions, all major credit cards, and again, the ability to secure those transactions with end-to-end encryption. Some of the newer available technologies that are emerging in the marketplace, a lot of you may or may not be familiar with mobile payments. We're seeing a lot of capabilities with mobile payments at this point. Novera does offer a mobile solution. And it really allows the merchant the ability to accept payments anywhere. And technically eliminates the need for a receipt printer because the consumer can actually sign for the receipt on the screen and the receipt can be emailed to the client or the customer. Again, secure transactions with end-to-end encryption. One of the other newer technologies that are emerging at this point are virtual terminals. And again, Novera offers a virtual terminal solution. This is probably the one that we're most excited about. And the virtual terminal is really a cloud-based terminal that will work with virtually any internet capable computer. There's a number of different ways we can actually get the data into the terminal. We can simply hook up what's called a USB mag card reader on the side of the monitor. Anyone that's been into a quick serve restaurant, or really any restaurant, normally sees that swiper on the side of the actual screen. So that's a very simple device to hook up on the side of a monitor and plug into the USB port for swipe capabilities. Or the information can actually be entered into the database by keying it in. A lot of advantages to a virtual terminal: the ability to process transactions again in seconds, literally from anywhere you've got an internet-capable computer. It does some additional robust functionality as well. So for you folks that need the ability to store a card on file in a PCI-compliant fashion, this will do that in the database. So if you want to attach a card to an actual customer's name, store that on file for a future payment, we have the ability to do that. Or enable an automatic payment plan. So if you had a customer that wanted to do a buy here, pay here, and wanted to set them up on an actual payment plan, that could be done on the virtual terminal. Again, convenient access from any web-enabled computer, secure transactions, and the ability to also have what's called shopping cart capabilities. So if you wanted the ability to use a solution like this and tie it to your website for payment with AST, we have the ability to do that as well. So that's some information on the virtual terminal. Again, I'm going to skip the question until the end and just talk a little bit about value-added solutions first. We also at Novera have the ability to offer what's called a gift and loyalty card program. And if you're an auto dealer, you might not think that this is necessarily a fit for your dealership. But we have found throughout our 10-year tenure that it certainly is. The gift cards can be used to replace the old paper-based gift certificates, but thinking creatively, you can actually use a gift card as a promotional tool. So instead of that customer that is trying to negotiate, let's say, the last $100 off the purchase of a car and walking off the lot and losing their pride and going to a dealer on the other side of town, we've taught dealerships how to enable their sales folks to issue a gift card, let's say, for $100 on a future purchase in the service department to help close the sale. We also have a loyalty card program specifically for service. And some of our dealers have gotten very savvy by actually preloading the card with value to get that customer hooked on the program and to come back into their dealership for service as opposed to going to some of the national chains like the Jiffy Lubes. So these solutions, again, are available in conjunction with the merchant services, the credit card processing, and it really takes what, in essence, is a tax on your business. We all know that credit card processing has a cost, and turns that into a marketing tool that can help increase sales and get your best customers coming back more often. We do have an offer for a limited time at this point for anyone that signs up with Novera for their payment processing for 100 free gift or loyalty cards. And I want to talk a little bit about the URL that we've got on the bottom. For additional information, you can go to www.noverapaymentsolutions.com/AST. And that's the URL that we really use to start the process. So if there's anyone on the webinar that would like to request additional information, that's the website to go to. And we'll have one of our representatives follow up with you immediately and schedule what we call a discovery call. If you're already currently processing credit cards now and you'd like to get an analysis done and see how our flat fixed fee program stacks up against your current provider, this would be the URL to go to. Just enter in a couple brief information, name of your business, your contact information, and we'll reach out. And that would actually start the process moving forward to do the analysis for you. Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for attending the webinar today. And at this point, if anyone does have questions, if they want to type them into the screen, I'll do the best I can to answer them. I'm not seeing any questions show up. So I want to thank our attendees today for getting on the webinar. Again, on behalf of AST and Novera, have a terrific day.